Hi, it's Joe Mazumdar from Exploration Insights at the Metals Investment Forum in downtown Vancouver, and I got with me the director and advisor to Irving Resources, Quinton Hennigh. Quinton?
Thank you, Joe.
How's it going? Okay, Irving is in Japan. So what's the attraction of Japan, not only for you, but to one of your major investors, which is Newmont?
You know, that's a really good question. That's actually the favorite one I get asked. And Japan, you know, is on the Ring of Fire, as most people know. There's volcanoes, earthquakes, everything you see around the Circum-Pacific. One of the things that you look at and you think, oh my goodness, given all the gold deposits all the way around the Pacific, there's got to be a lot in Japan. All right. Now, most people don't know it, but Japan has a long history of gold mining, going back to the Edo period. It's produced many millions of ounces. It's got one of the highest grade operating mines right now, Hishikari.
And it's the only one.
Only significant one, yes. And, you know, we as Irving, we visited, Akiko and I visited Hishikari back in 2012. It was astonishing. We saw a mine where the Japanese are incredibly resourceful people. They mine, and instead of processing it in a conventional way, like through a conventional mill, they actually use the ore for smelter flux in the copper smelters. Yeah. So they recover the gold and silver while they're recovering copper. Well, we looked at that and we thought, what a wonderful business model. You can produce gold very cheaply.
Yeah.
And
don't have to process it.
Exactly. And there's very big systems in Japan that are yet to be explored. So we put together Irving in 2016 after we sold Gold Canyon to First Mining. And we brought on some very high-powered people into, to help us, advise us. Tako Okasan in particular, he worked for Sumitomo. He knew a lot of epithermal systems around Japan, and he helped us pick our portfolio.
So how do you narrow down the search radius? Because, I mean, obviously you can go all the way from the southern island of Kyushu up to Hokkaido, but you're now focused mostly on one specific basin almost in Hokkaido. A big one.
Yeah.
But...
and part of that's just a function of, you know, the bandwidth we have to explore. I mean, we have a portfolio of projects, and all of them have good potential, right? But Omui area, which is basically a volcanic graben. Think of it like a valley that was filled up by volcanic rocks about 12 million years ago. This area saw a lot of hot spring activity, much like you would see in Yellowstone Park, you know. And there are other grabens in this region. The next one over, Konamai, hosts several million ounces of gold. So we looked at Omui in particular. We saw evidence of very high grades in historic sampling and mining. We saw multiple hot spring systems to explore. We feel that this graben is basically underdone. It's a green field for exploration.
And what you've done is basically, like you said in your talk, you've applied modern exploration techniques to a low sulfidation epithermal system in an area that hasn't seen this in a couple of decades.
That's right. So you and I both worked at Newmont. We kind of know the procedure, you know, the way a big mining company would approach a system like this. You know, the recipe, geophysics and geochemistry. So we did BLEG work. We BLEGged the entire stream catchment area, and we came up with all the anomalies. We quickly identified where the gold was. And then we did geophysics. We did everything you need to do. We did gravity, magnetics, and then recently we've done resistivity. And it's just to help us focus like a laser and quickly generate you know, very high quality targets, but also success with the drill. You know, we've drilled 2 areas now. We released results from Omu Sinter back in November. Mm-hmm. You know, 7 of 8 of our first drill holes hit. Okay, now think about that. In epithermal systems, as we know, success rates, maybe 30, 40, 50%. We got 7 out of 8 in the first round. Okay, now we released results from Omui this morning. We had 7 holes, shallow holes in this case, where 6 out of 7 hit. All right, now that's a great start, but they're wide space. We need to go back in and refine it. The geophysics has helped us identify the deeper targets down towards the boiling zone. So for instance, hole 10, which is our first deep hole that was drilled at Omui.
So for retail people, what is the boiling zone in a low sulfidation?
Good question. Yeah, I'm jumping too far. I get excited. The boiling zone is basically the level at which fluids were boiling inside the ground when the hot spring was forming. And that level triggers precipitation of gold and silver. So you get very high grades develop at that level.
And you've figured with your fluid inclusion studies around what depth that is.
It's about 350 to 380. So the surface of the ground way back 12 million years ago, about 350 to 380 meters down, was the boiling zone in all of these different systems. Mm-hmm. And using that knowledge, we can now target where to drill these. So we put in our first deep hole, hole 10, at Omui in November, early December, and lo and behold, it hit multiple veins. We talked about it a bit in the news release. We're waiting on assays right now, but multiple veins in which we see ganguro, silver sulfur salts as well as electrum, and the right textures, boiling textures, all the bells and whistles.
In the geophysics you were showing in your presentation, this lateral resistivity anomaly that you think may represent the actual boiling zone.
It is. It looks, the resistivity is a good proxy for solidification, and we can kind of see that mushroom effect at about 350 meters down. So it's, I think...
And now you've drilled it to confirm that something's happening.
Yeah.
Now we just got to wait for the grade.
Hole 10, glance right across the tippy top of that zone, and it just hit one vein after another. So that means, I think we've clipped the top of the productive part of the system. It's blue sky at depth. Everything below that is open.
So
now.
when should we see results or get results?
Probably late January, early February.
Okay. And so that's Omui, but then, and you drilled Omu, and then you got this other area,
Hokkaido, yes. Hokkaido, there was a bit of historic mining. It was shut down in the Second World War. Tide turned in the war around 1943, so the mine was shut down. But it was shut down, arbitrarily. There's the resistive feature, CSAMT shows a huge silicified zone that's ripe for exploration. We've done surface sampling. We found new veins at surface, very high grade,
but
tens
it's a
of
bit
grams.
Deeper, right? There you don't see as much sinter development?
Erosionally, yes. At least right at Hokkaido, you're probably already down, into that boiling zone. But the system's a bit tilted there. So just to the north, Maruyama, the sinter is actually preserved. And we think the vein system will be present underneath that sinter.
So plenty of news flow, and then ongoing drilling with one rig, I guess, through 2020?
We're keeping it one rig for now. Should the results from hole 10 be in line with what we expect, we will probably have to ramp things up. One of the things about working in Japan, labor is hard to find. Okay, yeah. That's the biggest challenge. We've brought in Canadian drill company, Canadian drillers. We're trying to work now on
labor specific to do exploration that got that expertise.
We'll call it physical labor, like people to go out and help lift, on the drills and stuff. We're trying to train up Japanese drillers right now. We're trying to get more and more Japanese people integrated into the exploration business.
Yeah. Because basically you had to bring the rigs in, or?
We did. We brought them from Canada.
Yeah.
But I want this to be a Japanese-run project. In a year's time, I'd like to see the entire thing run by Japanese nationals, and we're in it for the long haul. This is going to be a big discovery.
Well, the other thing that I got the impression of when I was in Japan is, Hokkaido. I mean, even though you go into Japan thinking from outside that it's going to be very densely populated, but outside of the major cities on Honshu, there's like nobody.
It's a phenomena that's happening right now in Japan. The little town near us, Omu, 12,000 people a decade ago. Today, it has maybe 4,800 people.
And their probably average age is like 65.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, the population is aging. These rural areas in particular are absolutely desperate for economic development. We are friends with everyone in town. Anyone who knows Akiko, she is an absolute delight. She's a social butterfly. She knows the mayor. She knows the Fisheries Association. Everyone in town who has any say in this project, she's good friends with, and they are just tripping over themselves to help us. Hokkaido, the population density is lower. That's why we chose it. But the geology is actually very, very similar to Kyushu, where Hishikari is. So we've got we're blessed with a lower population, but we're also blessed in the fact that we've got geology that resembles Hishikari.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Quinton.
Thank you.
That's it for the update from Irving Resources and Director Quinton Hennigh. I'm Joe Mazumdar, Exploration Insights at the Metal Investor Forum in downtown Vancouver. Thank you very much.